Should have 3 volts right here. We still don't. .6 there. .6. Still don't have a connection. All right. See if that changes the angle of that connector. Okay, now we got 3 volts. So that connector was just not making good connection to the battery. So now that we've got 3 volts at the battery connection, let's see if we actually get the motor to run. Okay, the motor's still not running. So now let's check and see if we have any power at the motor. And we do. We got almost 3 volts at the motor. Okay, it actually is running now, all of a sudden. So the motor connection either probably corroded, but you can see it's just barely running, but it is running. Rewind is not working. Okay, can you see it running? So the brushes could be bad in this motor or dirty, but it is running now. So, see it? So I wonder what about the rewind. See if we can get it rewind working. Try to. Okay, forward is running now. And I don't know if you can hear that clunk. Hear that clunk? If let's see if we can find that. That clunk is because the motor drive has been up against this rubber and left in that position for a long... Oh, there it is, right there. You look carefully, you see that little notch right there? That is the clunk, clunk, clunk. And that will affect the audio playback. So we probably will, once we get all this running correctly, we probably will sand that down just a little bit, take that edge, that little notch out of there. That might help. So we have play. So let's see if we can get rewind to go. There's a good chance that the rewind connections here on the switch right here are corroded. We did put some spray on them, but just didn't get the job done. So we could jump it. Not doing any good. Trying to jump the connector. Nope. Not doing the job. So do we have a... Well, we're in record, so that's probably part of the problem. I don't think it's designed for the motor to run and erase the tape and rewind. So let's flip it into play and try rewind now. Okay, it is trying. Yeah, it is trying to run. Can you hear the motor? Okay, so we've got some mechanics issue here preventing it from running. Could be a tire. There is a tire between the motor and the rewind spindle. That is a problem. but the motor is running now. And it is playing in forward now. So I think what we'll do, just for kicks, it's a little bit of a few extra screws, but it might be worth it to take these screws out and pull this whole deck off so that you can see the mechanics of these rewind wheels and tires. There's a tire in there. I've seen this on some other recorders, so that's the only reason I'm familiar with it. So let's pull that apart. Okay. Okay, that screw is already torn up. Hope we can get that one loose. There we go. Okay. Here we go. Make sure we're in the view here. Yeah. So you can see the motor. Let's zoom in here. Try to hold all this together. So you can see the motor is right there. And it drives this rewind reel, which is real stiff. I'm not sure what's going on. It could be that this is gummed up. This was running free earlier. And it could be that there's a notch in the tire, and there is. I don't know if you can see it well in the light here, but there's a pretty good notch right here, flat spot in this tire. Pretty good notch. So that's a problem. So let's see if we can figure out what's gummed up here. Could be this wheel is gummed up. And we'll put it on rewind. Okay. Oh, I'm probably binding it up. Oh, since I pulled this loose, since I pulled this off, this control is what controls moving the motor back and forth here. So it shifts the motor back and forth like that. Yeah. So let's put it on rewind. And we'll shift the motor over to rewind position. And you can see it's trying to turn the motor. Trying to turn the rewind. There it goes. It just bound up. Definitely something going on here. A lot of times, let me stop this. A lot of times what happens is that these tires get glazed, and this has probably got such a hard surface on it. It's just gotten so hard that the drive can't grip it. Just can't grip it. So let's try this. Let's use a little bit of cleaner. It seems to work well on this rubber tire. See if we're getting any rubber tire off. Oh yeah. So let's just clean this one. All right, so now let's start the rewind. Yeah, see, it's just not gripping it. It's trying, but it's just not strong enough. Playback mechanism is working great. All right, next step is to make sure that all of this is nice and clean and spinning freely. Oh my, that's pretty gummed up there. So we'll clean this. And this is running, yeah, this is binding. This is definitely binding, so we definitely need some cleanup and oil on this mechanism. So let's pull that loose, and there's a screw under here, right here. It's holding that all together. So we'll pull that loose. There we go. Let that screw drop out. It's got a lock washer on it. And you can see that whole thing is tensioned. Excuse me, I'm shorting things out over here. That whole thing is tensioned. We'll put a drop of oil on that mechanism there. But this is definitely a little stiff. So we'll clean it up. Yeah, you can see how corroded that post is. So let's clean that up and put a little bit of oil on it. Back in. Okay, we need to put get this. There we go. Okay, now that's spinning a lot better. Still need to clean the tire one more time. Good, and we'll clean that just in case there's a little bit of oil on it. Alright, now I'm going to find my might have dropped it here. There it is. Looking for the clip, E-clip. Alright, let's see if that helped us get our rewind working. Push, rewind, and then we'll push the mechanism. There it is right there. Okay, it's trying, but see the bumps in that tire are creating problems for us. Alright, now, it's an old trick I learned some time ago. When these tires are gotten too hard, this one's still a little soft, that's why it's working okay. But when these tires get hard, and won't grip against the metal motor shaft, what I've done, and I'm going to take this whole thing over to the this other bench where we've got a solder station set up, and I'm going to show you what we can try to see if that will improve this rewind function. Now that we've got all this freed up and working correctly, we've got to improve the grip between this drive motor and this driven tire. So let's take the whole thing over to the other bench. Alright, I'm over here near the soldering station, and here's what I have done on a number of occasions with these drive issues, is that sometimes what we can do is just heat shrink a piece of tubing on the end of the motor shaft, and I'm going to turn the soldering station on, and it makes a lot of noise, but I'm going to cut a small piece of shrink tubing, and we're going to slide it down over the motor, get the motor free. There we go. Slide that down over the motor shaft, just like that. I want it down against the motor frame, so I need to pull it up just a little bit. And now it's okay if it's a little bit long, and we're going to turn the hot air on, and we're going to heat that real quickly, just enough to shrink the tubing. I don't want to damage the tire, so I have to be careful. Do this pretty quickly. Alright, now another way to do this is to turn the motor on. Oop, just spun it right off because I didn't have it. Try this again. I need one more hand. Let's see how I can do this. Start it. There it goes. Look at that. Rewind, play, rewind, play, rewind, play. Rewind, play. Okay. Now, doing this, let's let that motor stop just a second. in doing this, changing the size of the capstan drive roller, you may remember from some of my other videos, it changes the ratio, the gear ratio, I guess you would say, between the motor drive and the driven pulley on playback. So it will change the speed and make it run faster. Now that's not a lot of thickness right there, but it is enough to change the pitch slightly. But whatever, I don't plan to be using this every day for my dictation, but you get the idea. So if we go to rewind, we do have rewind capability now. So it's still bumpy because that tire is so bad. You can see it bumping on the screen, I'm sure. I'll zoom in. But I can just feel the thump, 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 thump on my fingers here as I'm holding all this together. And you can see this moving. It's because that tire is so badly worn or compressed from sitting against the wheels for so long. So this has a little bit of a thump in it, but I don't think it's going to interfere too badly with the playback. And we are talking about a pretty poor quality tape recorder to start with in terms of its wow and flutter and all of that. So let's move it back to the other bench, and I'll put this back together and we'll make sure that the rewind is still working correctly.